So much, Ricky, for joining us in this conversation on Rays of Sunshine. I'm Sudeshna, and it's an honor, absolute honor for me to be able to speak to you, to talk about what matters to you, what matters to the youth today, and how we can together build a better world. So, Ricky, before we get started, I would, of course, want you to kind of quickly tell us a little bit about your childhood and how you reached where you reached. I'm sure it's an inspirational story. So, over to you.
Um, so I actually grew up in America. I grew up in North Carolina. My parents lived there for a really long time. My dad is a doctor, and he was practicing in North Carolina.
Nice.
And yes, I was there till I was 8 years old, and then that's when the family decided to move back. But nevertheless, we lived in a really small town in this place called Roanoke Rapids, which was on the border of North Carolina and Virginia.
Okay.
And so it was pretty much in the middle of nowhere, and we had this huge backyard, and and beyond the backyard there was sort of like a forest kind of a place. So we would have a whole lot of creepy crawly animals, and snakes and lizards and reptiles coming into our home, and which was very nice because that's what gave me my first introduction to nature.
Right.
And and I was quite a weird child growing up in that way, because when my parents and my relatives were they used to run away instinctively from these seemingly dangerous animals, I was always very drawn towards them. And for me at that time itself, I found a very deep love for nature, because I used to never look at these animals as they're sort of like their world and my world. I used to always look at it as our world, and I would always think of these animals as being like siblings of mine and brothers and sisters of mine. And when people used to tell me that they're really dangerous and stay away from them, or we're supposed to kill them, my question to them as a young child itself used to be that why do they exist if they're not needed, and of course now I understand that no matter how insignificant an animal may seem, or no matter how dangerous an animal may seem, or how useless an animal may seem, all of them are part of our ecosystem, and and all of them play a very important role in maintaining the delicate balance that we have, and the delicate balance that we require for our own survival.
True.
And of course, I was very obsessed with music as a child, in the sense that my music system was pretty much the center of my universe, and I used to listen to a whole lot of music. I used to try to pull apart different pieces of music and try to understand what are the different instruments played in every single song, and what is the songwriting about, what are the musicians thinking about while they're creating this music. So in that way, there was sort of like a synergy between music and nature for me, and that's how my childhood happened.
Lovely, lovely. As you were telling those stories, I know that I myself am very scared of reptiles, and if I see a lizard in the room, I'm like screaming all over the place. But this almost reminded me of a friend of mine. She told me that, hey, you got to live in harmony. You are in their space, not them in yours. I will say I wasn't very brave even after that, but lovely, fantastic. You moved from North Carolina to India, and did this harmony with nature and with music continue, or did you see like a little bit of a transition, a bit of a dip, and then you were able to pick it back again?
It was always there throughout my life. This love for nature. That never stopped, and even while I was in India, it always existed. And I believe that when it comes to children in general, children are born with these qualities of compassion, empathy, and environmental consciousness. Like a child always prefers to be among greenery, and if you ask a child, they always find that very beautiful when it comes to nature. But we as human beings, what we are doing is that through the systems that we have and the systems that we've built and the education system itself, what we're doing is that we're systematically erasing that from our children. So I believe that I had that in me, and luckily for me, I managed to keep that alive in some small way. Of course, I too had a lot of prejudices, and a lot of things that would not be very environmentally sound. But later on, you teach yourself to be more and more, as in when you learn, and as in when you go on this path of educating yourself into the ways of the world, and what is morality and what is ethics and things like that. So I guess it's always been there. It's just that, as in when I learned more about it, the more I got into it.
Right. The journey has been phenomenal. And I love the passion with which you talk about music already. But I don't know if you can share any one, either event or any person who's helped you through this journey, which made you very sure about this is what I want to do. This is my passion. This is where my heart lies. Can you share something?
I guess it's been people who I've not met personally, but people whose careers I followed. Like, for example, one person would be Pandit Ravi Shankar, simply because, that when I started off my musical career, one thing that I decided very strongly is that I'm not going to be part of the movie industry, simply because, I felt that, a lot of people do what they're passionate about, like music or dance or whatever, but within that, many times they are creating stuff which they do not like creating.
Yeah.
For example, I just cannot see myself making an item song or, making a party song or a drinking song or whatever, because I'm just not that kind of a person,
Right.
So, so basically, and also the other thing is that I do not want to create music that is not an extension of my own personality. Because you see in the movie industry, you see a whole lot of composers and music directors who are making music that they themselves would probably never listen to. So I do not want to have that kind of a career. So then I had to look outwards and see that, who are the great people who have created careers for themselves, doing Indian music, which is, and my music from the heart has always been Indian music.
Yes.
So they're creating Indian music, but at the same time, they are breaking cultural barriers. Right. And I realized that when it comes to Bollywood, even though Bollywood is listened to and appreciated all over the world, it hasn't actually broken cultural barriers. Because if you look at a Vishal Dadlani or a Shankar Ahsan Loy or an A.R. Rahman performing outside of India, like let's say a London or let's say New Jersey or San Jose or whatever. Right. The thing is that about 99% of the audience is the Indian diaspora.
It's so all the global audience.
Correct. And if you look at Pandit Ravi Shankar, and and I've seen about 3 of his concerts in the Bay Area. I was a huge fan of his while he was alive, and I still am. Yes. But the thing is that at his concerts, you'll hardly find any Indian people. It's mainly the American people at those concerts which I had gone to, and so on and so forth. If he plays in Russia, it's the Russian people. If he plays in South Africa, it's the South African people. So it's amazing how he plays pure Indian music. Yes. And at the same time, he's managed to break all these cultural barriers where it does not matter what nationality you are. When you listen to his music, you will definitely appreciate it. Definitely. So that's the kind of career that I wanted. And he was hugely inspiring for me in that way. And of course, we have contemporary musicians also like for example, Pandit Vishwamohan Bhatt, who is exactly in the same way. Yeah. In the sense that I've seen a couple of his concerts in America and in Canada. And it's surprising how, how he's managed to break these cultural barriers and, and get people from all over the world, different nationalities, different cultures to listen to his music. True. Same thing with Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. Oh, yes. Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan really broke cultural barriers and had, in fact, in my opinion, the most amazing voice a human could ever have. So these are the people who are very, very inspiring for me.
Lovely, lovely, fantastic. It's great to hear all of these. And of course, a lot of these words, these names and the music, right, resonates. Very rightfully, as people have said, music does not have a language. If it touches the heart, then that's it. It works magic for people. Similarly, if I was to look at language per se, and you've worked with different cultures, you've worked with so many different bands across the world, have you ever felt any kind of cultural nuances in not such a good way? And how have you overcome those?
Actually, not such a good way. That's never happened. For me, every single collaboration that I've been a part of has been very, very fruitful. And, and I've absolutely loved performing with people. But I guess that's the reason for that is that I usually choose to collaborate with people who are absolutely amazing. So the thing is that, so for me, it's always outreaching. Outreaching my grasp, like in the sense that I always try to collaborate with people who I would imagine would be very difficult to collaborate with because they are absolutely amazing or they're really busy doing what they're doing and things like that. So for me, there's never been I would say that very confidently, I can say that there's never been an experience where I've collaborated with somebody and I've not been happy with it, or lesser than overjoyed with the collaboration. Like, for example, there's this one Algerian violin player who I'm a huge fan of. And I think it was in 2015 that I wanted to collaborate with this gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And I flew to Algeria and I sat in the studio with him. And it was initially quite a frustrating experience because this violin player, he knew no other language besides Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I only know English and I know bits of Hindi and bits of Kannada.
Right.
And so there was no way for me to, interact with him. And even sign language was not working because our references, to cultures are so vastly different.
Correct.
That, no communication was working. And we tried, communicating each other, but it wasn't working. But then I started playing the piano in front of him. And, and then he pulled out his violin and he started reacting to my piano playing. And then we just carried on for another 2-3 hours and we just kept recording, and that became a song on my album. It's a song called Rumi on my album called Shanti Samsara. And I realized that, that music is indeed, I mean, it's said as a cliche that music is a universal language. Everybody says that. But it's a cliche because it's absolutely true. And I've experienced that multiple times, that sometimes in this particular case, he does not speak the same language. He's from opposing political ideologies. And what do you call that? Completely different culture.
Right.
The culture has got absolutely zero intersection with our culture. And, so there was no way to communicate. So when all else fails, music, basically we managed to get through,
becomes the bridge.
Through the language of music. Yeah.
Right. How lovely. What a lovely experience. Thank you for sharing that. I know I've been saying that a lot of this conversation is for the young people, but I will also say that I would like people who are in our generation, so the 30 to 40 kind of age group, where somewhere they feel this burden, right? Exactly the way we spoke. The younger people are growing up, they are probably getting more compassionate. They are open to a lot more nuances. But for people who are in this particular middle age kind of group, there's a lot happening. And I see a lot of my friends or my colleagues say that, you know what, I'm giving up. And the pandemic has not helped anybody. Everybody's feeling extremely low now. So what will be a mantra there that you could share probably that, I mean, how does one look forward where sometimes you feel that the world is coming to an end, there is nothing more to look forward to?
No, I guess it's a very, very difficult time right now for every single person. Because and it's very confusing time simply because you don't know what's going to happen, and people blame organizations like the WHO, people blame governments. But the fact is that nobody actually, it's such unprecedented times. These are times which nobody ever imagined would happen. True. So basically everybody is just like, playing it by ear and like, and taking it as it goes along, And at the end of the day, people say that like, that why doesn't the government have answers? We've got scientists, we've got things, but the reason why we do not have answers is because it is science, like in the sense that that's how science works, right? That you figure out something and then later on you figure out that is wrong, and then you course correct, and then you realize that that something else is correct. Like how they said that masks were what do you call that? That you shouldn't be wearing masks if you do not have the disease. Right. And the virus, and the thing is that, and then later on people realize they're all right, everybody should be wearing a mask. So that's what everybody's realizing things and they're course correcting, and that's what's happening, and that's what we need to do within our own lives. That we just need to figure out what is working, and and course correct, and and just get used to this new lifestyle, because right now it's all about adapting as soon as possible, because the virus is here to stay, irrespective of whether we have a vaccine or not. The virus is definitely here to stay. Yeah. The kind of new normals that we are getting used to right now are here to stay. Of working from home, and people feeling scared to go out in large numbers, and and people being very germaphobe and things like that. These things are here to stay. So the faster we adapt, the faster we understand how to monetize our lives and how to make ourselves financially more sustainable, the better it is. So right now it's all about, instead of waiting for things to get better, figure out how we can survive right now, and how we can make things work for us right now, and carrying those learnings for a long, long time. Those skills, you have to adapt completely to this. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, for example, the music profession itself. In the early 1900s and the late 1800s, the way that music used to work in India is through bedaks. Like, they would be classical musicians. They would have like, beautiful homes, and, and what would happen is that not beautiful homes as in rich homes, but like, nice, humble, nice, welcoming homes.
Right.
And what would happen is that people would come from far off lands to actually come and listen to these people sing. And they would donate money to them, and that was their income.
Yeah.
So then later on, the British around that period, late 1800s, early 1900s, brought the gramophone to India. And brought the recorders, and they wanted to record a complete archive of Indian classical music. And they approached a whole lot of musicians. And the musicians did not want to record for two reasons. One is that they felt that if they record and their recordings are made available, then nobody's going to come for these betaks, and their career is going to be completely ruined. So they said that recording is not good. And of course, there were superstitions too, that if you record on a gramophone, then your voice will get into the gramophone and you lose a part of your voice and all that nonsense. But nevertheless, the main reason was this, that they felt that their career will be completely ruined by this whole recording thing. Then around 1930 or 1940 is when they started realizing that, we can actually make money off these recordings, So, so basically that. So then the whole thing changed, and the better thing stopped or became very rare. And, and then the recordings thing happened. Then after that, and when you would record on these shellacs, it would be one song on one side and the other song on the other side. So 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Then later on, cassette tapes came out. So with cassette tapes, it became 60 minutes. And then everybody was forced to make complete albums.
Right.
You know, that you cannot survive with one song, because if you put one song on a cassette, nobody's going to buy the cassette.
Correct.
Because why will anybody pay 45 rupees for 5 minutes of music?
True.
When they can spend 45 rupees and buy 60 minutes of music,
True.
So everybody were forced to make albums, and everybody were like, our careers are going to be ruined, How can we, every time we go into the studio, how can we record 60 minutes of music? We're giving away too much, And then later on, it became 60 minutes of music. Then after that, when CDs came in, it became a whole new thing where everything became digital.
Correct.
And then after that, it went to MP3s, and everybody were like, there's no physical copies.
Right.
It's all going to be about piracy. Then it went to streaming, where people did not even want to store anything on their phone.
Correct.
Then everybody just wants to stream things off Spotify and Ghana and all this stuff. Nobody wants to even store anything. Right. Then people started moving their careers more towards live concerts. And now the only difference right now, there's the next huge disruption in the musical industry. But the only reason why this is becoming quite massive is that it's really sudden.
Yes.
Whereas the previous ones that I mentioned were slow trajectories.
Slow, correct.
And there were slow curves. Whereas right now, everything is all of a sudden. So we just need to adapt really fast to this new change in the music industry.
Lovely, lovely. Ricky, I have to share that I have worked in the consulting industry as well. And of course, we all say that change is a normal part of life. But the way you beautifully just told me about the journey of music, I almost wish I could use this for my consulting clients when I was working with them. It was fantastic. Tell me a little bit more about all the recent work that you've done, Ricky. I know that you worked with the refugees from across the world, and what a beautiful piece of music that is. It's fantastic. And of course, the way you put across your words also, saying that your music is you, right? You don't do anything which is not you. It is a reflection of you. There's a lot of compassion there. There's a lot of authenticity there. And a lot of us are struggling to actually maintain that kind of authenticity. So tell me a little bit about this entire experience, your latest one, and how to continue.
So the refugee song that you're speaking about, that was something that was quite a fulfilling experience for me, because so what happened is that the UNHCR, that is the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, which is a United Nations organization which takes care of refugees all over the world. So they had approached me, and they told me that they've got 24 refugee musicians, most of whom were asked to leave their country because they were musicians. And so they're talented musicians, but right now, because they're refugees, the last thing they can ever think about is music. Right. So they have to think about their very survival right now. And so basically, I did a bunch of webinars with them over about 2 to 3 months. Every Thursday in the morning, I would do a webinar with them. And that culminated with us actually creating a song together. And, while we were thinking about what song to create, while I was mentoring them, and I was asking them that what kind of a song should we create? And, in my mind, I'd taken it for granted that it's going to be a song which is going to be like a very dark song. It's going to be about the pains and the trials and tribulations that they've been through, and the experiences of family members being killed and extreme violence being meted out to them and things like that. But then all that they wanted to sing about was about giving hope to the world, and about joy, and about being happy and being resilient and things like that, which was quite amazing for me. And that encouraged me even more to, put all of my efforts into this project. And so that's what we created the song, and the UNHCR released the song. So that was that particular song. And
fantastic, fantastic, great. So tell me, how is it that you manage to keep yourself so authentic, so true to your work all the time?
I guess it's a little easier for me, I have to admit, simply because I've got a bunch of awards and a bunch of platforms and all of that stuff. So basically nobody can stop me from making music. So, but that's the thing about awards, like in the sense that, people say that, oh, I do not like awards, or, awards are not for me and things like that. But I'm actually of a contrary belief that I believe awards are extremely important, because there are two ways to look at an award. One is look at it as vanity, which is like, oh, I won an award, I'm better than everybody else. So that, in my opinion, is completely the wrong way to look at an award. The way that I look at awards is basically each and every award is a platform for me to do bigger and better things, and for me to able to have a stronger voice in all the causes that I believe in, and all the philanthropic efforts that I'm a part of. So that's what I do. And so the biggest award that I won is obviously the Grammy Award. And so I remember that the day I won the Grammy Award, that these were the thoughts that were running in my mind, that, that now, nobody can stop me from, from making music now. And so now I can do whatever I feel like, and because even if I'm not financially successful, even then people will still take me seriously. And, because I've got that validation, from the biggest music award in the world, so these were the thoughts that were running while I was sleeping that night, like I was thinking that, that now it's the time for me to forget about, anything to do with commercialization, or anything to do with like, oh, I have to do this for an audience or whatever. Because a lot of people, when they make music, and a lot of my friends itself, when they show me their music, they play me the music, and then they make all these sorts of excuses that, oh, I had to add that beat because, people like it. And, I had to add that raunchy lyrics because, the producer asked me. And they start making these excuses. But what do you think of it? But this thing I had to do because somebody else asked me to do that. Or this I had to do because, my audience demands it, and things like that. So for me, I'm really proud to say that my music, any of my music, is completely excuse free. So if you don't like my music, it's because you don't like my music, and I'm sorry about that. But that is basically my music. But at the same time, if you like my music, then it's basically entirely me. So my music is basically a reflection of me, and it's a piece of me. Yeah. So basically, it's completely excuse free. I'll show it to you, and this is the best that I possibly could do. There is nothing that I could have done in my mind and in my skill set and in my talent set that could have made the song any better.
Lovely. Yeah, no, it's exactly that passion which comes across, I guess, in your music, and which is why it connects with so many people. We talked about how it's breaking definitely cultural backgrounds and barriers. It's talking to everybody, and your theme is so huge. A lot of your music, I've gone through a lot of your interviews. There's one thing that has stuck with me, Ricky. There's this one piece where I had read where you said that probably, and I might be misquoting a little bit, but the gist was that the one big thing that people are not doing right now is contributing towards making this a better world, and how everybody can do that, because we keep waiting for the other person to take a turn or to step up, but we want to sit back, and as soon as we do that, I think it's going to get better. So tell me a little bit more about that philosophy of yours.
I guess it's all about behavioral change. Now, the thing is that it's something that Gandhi itself said, that that everybody talks about changing the world, but on a large level, but nobody talks about changing themselves. So everybody talks about, oh, there's so much of pollution in this world, but they still go around driving their cars, and and they still buy products which are polluting the world. Or people say that people look at dirt in the sewers, and huge plastic pollution in the gutters and things like that. And everybody's blaming the government that they're not doing anything about it. But then if you look at the garbage collectors, the garbage collector comes by my house every morning at 8 o'clock, and you see that everybody has got trash to put out every single day.
Correct.
So so that itself is a huge problem. Why are you generating so much of waste?
Correct.
So there's obviously something wrong over there, because the thing is that either you're not reusing things effectively enough, or you're buying a lot of single-use stuff, And I'm not talking about the organic garbage, like of food waste and all of that stuff, which is also bad, but at least that is biodegradable. But I'm talking about, plastics and clothes and things like that, and every single day, every single house is like, putting out waste. So and that is something that the pandemic has also taught me, because pre-pandemic, I had a whole lot of staff, and so basically I would not know where my garbage is going, like in the sense that I would put out my garbage in my dustbin in my studio or at my home, and magically it would disappear, like in the sense that it would somehow go out of the house and it would disappear. So when the pandemic struck and, I had to let go of my staff, the thing is that I'm the one who had to pick up the garbage and put it out for the garbage collector in the morning, which is how I know now that, my garbage collector comes at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I started realizing that, that I'm putting out my garbage every 2 to 3 days. And I said that itself is not efficient enough.
Yeah.
And the pandemic taught me how to put out garbage only once a week. Wow. So right now I'm down to that, where I put out my garbage only once a week. And so that is why I'm generating really less garbage.
Lovely.
So that is the idea, and then in consumption right now, because I believe that even though overpopulation is a huge problem, I believe that a bigger problem is basically overconsumption. So again, as Mahatma Gandhi said, that that the earth can provide for everybody's need, but not for everybody's greed.
True.
And that still holds good, even though we've got about almost 8 billion people on this planet. Even then, it still holds good. So I believe that we just need to consume less of everything, and people need to have a very, very conscious effort to figure out what their actual carbon footprint is, what their actual effect is on this planet. Like if you look at a cotton t-shirt, for example, people think that, okay, you just bought a cotton t-shirt and whatever, cotton is biodegradable or anything like that. But few things people need to understand, besides the fact that there is no such thing as a pure cotton t-shirt, there's always some blend of polyester in it. So you always have some plastics, which when you put it into a washing machine, it leaches out as microplastics, kills animals in the oceans and all of that stuff. Let's put aside all of that. But just the water footprint out of a cotton t-shirt, if you start thinking about it, you'll realize that to just make a single cotton t-shirt, you need to have like almost half an acre of land, which is growing cotton plants. So if you think about it in that way, because it takes that many buds of cotton to make a single cotton t-shirt or a jean. And then, so half an acre of land, imagine the amount of water that goes into watering those plants for over a period of a couple of months. Then after that, you're transporting that cotton. So that itself is not environmental friendly, and you're going to a factory, which is usually in a different country. So you've got air travel and all of that stuff, or ship travel and things like that. And then after you're doing the cotton, you're weaving the cotton, all of that stuff, and you are creating it. So the water footprint of a single cotton t-shirt is close to 1,000 liters of water.
Wow.
So you buy, if you do not buy one cotton t-shirt, if you sort of like recluse yourself from buying one cotton t-shirt, you're actually saving 1,000 liters of water. So gone are the days when we think that shut off the tap while you're brushing your teeth or all that stuff, Basically, you just don't buy one cotton t-shirt, you're saving 1,000 liters of water.
Lovely. Yeah, no, wow, that's huge. And awareness is everything. I see that you are very, very aware of the entire process that's going in there and making small changes. That's fantastic. Great. I'm taking a lot back from this conversation already. I talk a lot about finding purpose and living a purposeful life in my conversations with young people usually. And the way our system works in India, at least, a lot of us go through school. By 12th, you're supposed to know what you're doing in your life, picking up science or arts. And in college, it's a completely mindless game of what am I picking up? And then you get into the zone of trying to make a living. Somewhere when I speak to people, they're like, I'm just trying to make a career right now, pay for my student loan or other things. Where is the time for me to find purpose or to live a purposeful life? What would you say to that?
That's unfortunately the system, The system is just skewed against, like finding your purpose or you trying to do, or finding your talent itself or finding your calling, The system is just simply against that. The way that things work, it seems to be a very straight line, your path towards actually, making yourself financially, independent. It seems like a very straightforward path to everyone, that you have to finish your 10th, then after that you have to choose science or commerce or arts for your 11th and 12th. And then after that, you have to get into either an engineering college. So it's almost like a flow chart which is created.
Right.
And, this is what you have to do. So to be honest, I don't have an answer for that question, because I believe that you can either be part of that system and you can be happy doing that, because, like I spent about a couple of days at the Sharabling monastery in Dharamshala when I was recording a project there. And I realized that these monks are just happy. They're extremely happy doing what they're doing. They do not have any ambitions. They do not want to make a big name for themselves. They're not hungry after power. They're not hungry after money. They do not want to buy the latest PlayStation or anything like that. They're just happy doing what they're doing. And at the end of the day, I guess that's the way it is. So for me, in my life, I believe that excitement is what makes me happy. I need to be constantly excited about what I'm doing. I need to be constantly doing things that I've not done before.
Right.
I need to be constantly doing things that are better than what I did the previous day. So that's the thrill of my life, and that's what makes me happy.
Correct.
Whereas for other people, that's not what they make them happy. So everybody just needs to find their own path.
Right, right. So I'm going to sum that up as being successful is equal to being happy, right? And no matter what it is that's making you happy. So for the young ones,
happy itself has got multiple definitions, I guess, because for me, happiness is excitement.
Yeah.
So for me, happiness is not like, being in bliss and, just sitting down and, just watching TV all day that's not happiness for me. So happiness for me is that constant level of adrenaline and constant supply of thrill, that is what makes me happy.
Right, right. And everybody needs to find that. Right? It's been an honor, and I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you actually gave me the time to speak to me. And I know you've got a lot of demands on your time. You're somebody I look up to. You're definitely a celebrity, and you're doing such great work. So much inspiration from you. I am deeply, deeply honored. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.